52-29, number 7 Oregon defeats Colorado. Brian, this is one of those games where post-game with this analysis video, there's a couple ways to look at it, glass half full or glass half empty. Obviously the offense had its best showing against an FBS opponent this year, yet defensively without Nate Lamon, they just could not stop Oregon.
Yeah, it was rough defensively, and back-to-back weeks, 23-point losses at Cal and here. But this one, I almost feel better about this one. Not almost, I do feel better about this one than a week ago. So it's just defensively, it did not look good. Now they have looked good most of the year defensively, but they've also had Nate most of the year, and so we don't know what that situation is going to look like the rest of the year. They've got to play better without Nate Lamon. I mean, this is 2 full games they played without him in the last couple of years. 107 points total given up. They've got to figure out how to play good football on defense without Nate Lamon.
You had a chance to talk with Chris Wilson after the game. What did he have to say about their struggles against this Ducks offense?
Yeah, just he didn't go in a lot of detail, but just said we didn't make plays and didn't. And he didn't want to make excuses. He said Nate's one guy and he makes a difference, but. He goes, we just got to figure out a way to play better, and not a lot of insight there, but it's he understands they didn't play great, and they didn't come out and do the things they wanted to do defensively. He said he's looking forward to getting back to work tonight and correcting those things because he knows that they can play good defense.
And this is kind of a glimpse into the future. They're going to have to figure it out without Nate Lamon because even if he comes back and plays again this season, next year they're not going to have him, and going forward they're not going to have him. On the other side of the ball, Brennan Lewis, that's the moxie that we saw with him coming into that Alamo Bowl last December, and why everybody was so excited about him coming into this year. Not a Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week type of performance, but he had 25 completions. His previous high was before today was 13, so by far his best performance.
Yeah, and I thought it looked really good a lot of times. I mean, I mentioned to Carl Durrell in the postgame that there were times that he was really patient in trying to let something develop downfield, showing awareness of he knew where the line of scrimmage was and staying behind it so that he could let a receiver get open, and then he would deliver a ball and complete a pass. So I thought he was doing some mature things as a quarterback out there that we haven't seen a whole lot this year, and so it looked really good for him, and maybe he's grown up a little bit. I mean, that's 2 times in the last 3 weeks that he's played pretty well. Last week against Cal, I know was not pretty, but that's twice in the last 3 weeks that he's played pretty well, and today he did it against a defense that while it hasn't been great, it's more talented than some of the other teams we've seen. And I mentioned to you in the press box today, I thought one of the biggest wins for CU today was that Kayvon Thibodeau was not really a factor, and that was a guy that coming into this week you thought, oh geez, that guy's licking his chops, he's going to have a field day. He was not a factor. I thought the offensive line did a really good job of making him a non-factor today.
Clearly, William Vallejos did a good job with that group, like you mentioned. Just 1 sack given up, and that was by Colorado kid Adrian Jackson out there. It's clear you don't fire a coach mid-season unless there's big problems, right? Because you just don't really see that unless there's a scandal involved, and there wasn't a scandal involved here. They needed a new voice in that room. And I don't know, did you take anything away from, we had a chance to talk with Colby Purcell outside the locker room. He said we're always together as a unit, but clearly that group meshed a lot better today.
Yeah, not only him, but Alex Fontenot, we talked to him as well. And both of them said there were changes made this week on the offensive line, and it showed. And I asked Colby how much of this performance was the changes and how much was really the group just banding together and saying, we got to be better. And he said it was kind of a mix of that. And, the change, Alex Fontenot said the changes were significant. I mean, it was different running behind that offensive line today. It was different watching that offensive line. Like you mentioned, they kept Oregon off of Brennan Lewis, and that was a huge key, a huge part of it. But there were some different, scheme things, and whatever they changed, it happened to work today.
Brennan Rice was the player of the game. Again, electric as a returner. A wonderful catch that he made in that game. Over 100 yards receiving. He had some rushing yards as well. You're looking for fight in this football team as they continue to lose games, and you're trying to build some semblance of optimism for the offseason. And he's number 1 on the list in terms of the guys you see out there fighting and battling and scraping for every single yard.
Yeah, and I'm not saying other guys are not like this, but there is no question whenever he gets the ball in his hands, he is looking to make a play, and I think he's number 1 on this team right now, and guys are looking to make that play. And when he's got the ball in his hands, he's had the ball in his hands a lot as a kickoff returner lately because the teams are scoring a lot of points. But he's made plays. I mean, he's had some nice kickoff returns. He did fumble the one. The Buffs were lucky that they fell on it and didn't lose the ball. But he's making plays, and I love watching it. He's been fun to watch overall this season, but really the last couple weeks.
If this team plays like they did today, what does the month of November look like? Obviously, defensively, they're going to have to get a little bit better to win games, but you've got Oregon State coming to Boulder next week. You've got Washington coming to Boulder. Washington, that's a team that's been struggling overall this year. They're not going to a bowl game. Statistically or mathematically, they could still win out and get there, but let's be honest, they're not going to win 6 games.
Yeah.
If you're a Colorado fan, what should your expectations be given where they are right now, being 2-6?
I think when you look at the last 3 weeks, and last week against Cal was abysmal, but 2 of the last 3 weeks, this offense has actually figured something out, and they've played fairly well. Today was the best, and they figured something out, obviously. Defensively, they've looked pretty decent most of the season. I think that if you're looking at this team, you say, get a couple more wins. If you can put that together once or twice, they can get a couple wins and come out of here 4-8.
All right. Again, Colorado falls to 2-6, but some positives at least to take out of this one, unlike a week ago.